Hello, my name is Doug Dortch, minister at Captiva Chapel by the Sea. Thanks so much for joining me today as we consider a brief message on how to find our best way forward in life. A message that I hope will bring you some encouragement for your day. I love the story of the child who was born to a large family, the fourth of 5 children, whose first word was late in coming, but when it came, it was worth waiting for. Move, is what the child said. Move. Get out of my way. Give me some space. Move. Now, I'd imagine that many of us can identify with that child, no matter what our age may be. We don't like it when people stand in the way of where we want to go. How many times have you been in a grocery line or waiting to get in a sporting event or sitting in a parking lot and thinking to yourself, man, I wish those people would move. I've got places to go and people to see, and that's probably why we can identify so easily with the story in the 9th chapter of Mark's Gospel. A story that finds Jesus' disciples jockeying for position like a bunch of little kids trying to work their way past one another to get to the front of the line for recess. And you can understand how with 12 of those disciples it wasn't hard for Jesus to have noticed what was going on, though he waited until he reached their destination with them to ask them the question, what were you arguing about on the road? And the text tells us that they didn't answer Jesus because they knew in their heart of hearts that they had been engaged in a conversation that was absolutely no good. In other words, their silence was due to their embarrassment that they had been up to something inconsistent with Jesus' example. And there was a lot about what Jesus had been telling them that they did not understand, especially what he had been telling them about his betrayal and his eventual death. But the one thing that most definitely had gotten through was how Jesus could not have cared less about prestige and position. He could not have cared less about one's standing in the world. And that knowledge, undeveloped as it was in the disciples, was enough to shut them up and shame them to the point of silence. But I can identify with the disciples, with their concern for upward mobility. Can't you? After all, if you're standing still in this life, you're getting past. If you're not making progress and others are getting ahead of you, if you're not getting better, then you're falling behind. Isn't that what this world teaches us? Yes, it is. That's definitely what this world teaches us, but I don't know if that's the lesson Jesus wants us to learn, particularly when we see Jesus seizing this situation as a teachable moment and sitting down, as rabbis would be inclined to do on such occasions, and offering those 12 disciples and us a critical lesson on how making it in this world, making it to the top, in a way that really counts, goes like this. If anyone wants to be first, they must be the very last, and they must be the servant of all. Or as the original language has it, they must be a slave of all. I think it's important to note that with this teaching, Jesus was not really downplaying his disciples' sense of ambition. Most people might interpret this passage to say that he was, as if in Jesus' mind, ambition was a bad thing. I don't see Jesus doing that at all. I don't see him downplaying ambition as much as I see Jesus redirecting ambition, which is a very different thing. I don't think it's wrong for followers of Jesus to be industrious or ambitious, not in the least. It's only when our ambition pushes our obedience to Jesus to the side that it becomes a bad thing. Only then does it become a sinful thing. And the way for you and me to make sure that our ambitions are pure is to be certain that they are first and foremost directed towards service, and directed towards service for the cause of Christ. So how does your heart beat? What is the thing that claims your enthusiasm and passion in this life? Is it to serve? Is it to help others in spite of what it may require of you? Or is it to be served so that you enjoy personal return with minimal risk in life? Unfortunately, for most people, it's the latter. It's to be served. For most people, service is not an ambition they aspire to. For most people, service is something they see as a burden, not a blessing. But we who call ourselves followers of Jesus, we have no one to blame but ourselves, because we fail to help one another see that Jesus did not mean teachings of his such as this one to be heard as warnings, but as promises. It is to say that Jesus meant to call us to service so that we might be blessed in the process of our being a source of blessing. So consider how much better your life could be if you were to choose the path of service. Consider how great each day might be. I talk to a lot of people and I pay attention to what others are saying. It's been my experience that the happiest people in life are those who see themselves and all that their life involves as opportunities for service. I mean, for these people, their world is full. Their horizons are broad. Their reach is wide. They get excited because they're making a difference. And on the contrary, some of the unhappiest people I have known are those who are accustomed to being waited on hand and foot. Their world, it's small. Their horizons, they're limited. And their reach, it's very short. You know, in most cases, serving others really doesn't require a lot. You can serve by letting someone have the chance to shine. You can serve by listening to a friend or to a neighbor who's going through a really difficult time. You can serve by lending a helping hand to somebody who has their own hands full. You can serve by offering to some despondent soul a word that encourages and lifts them high. So can you do that, and can you do it for Jesus' sake? And if you can, not only will you be lifting up your own life as well as the lives of others. In the process, you'll also be lifting up the life of Jesus. Thank you so much for listening today. Now, you focus this week not on lifting yourself up, but on lifting others up and on lifting Jesus up. And I'll look forward to seeing you